Hello friends, Tanya here, and today I am playing with some cute cherubic gnomes. Say that 3 times fast. So these are both from the new release from Trinity Stamps in their January 2021 release called Sending Smooches. And I am using 2 of the little cherub gnomes from this release. They are both individual stamps with coordinating dies. I'm only going to show you coloring one of them. Some people love the coloring, some people don't. I sped this the way the heck up. If you want to skip it, feel free. I am just using a variety of reds and some warm browns and a new skin tone to me, which I had to come up with because my E11 is drying out and I need a refill. So this is E01 and E95, which I really like it. It's a good color combo. And I used just about every of the mid and dark tone red in my collection of Copics on the variety of different images I've colored for this particular release, since it's all about love and Valentine's and all of the things that are red. The names of these stamp sets are, there's Gnome One Like You, which is what I'm coloring right now, and Sending Smooches. That would be the other cherub gnome. Who would have thought? Gnome cherubs. They are so stinking adorable. And this is from someone who wasn't all that keen on gnomes before I discovered the Trinity Stamps gnomes. They just have so much character. I'm just adding a darker tone red for these hearts on the hat. And the hat, if it didn't have the little hearts on it, would be even faster to color. And since most of this gnome is beard, you really don't have much to color. I do add a little bit of dark, I think that's a toner gray or neutral gray. I think I used warm grays, toner grays, and neutral grays. And I am adding some Clear Wink of Stella to add a little shimmer to this cherub because he must have shimmer. We just have to have shimmer. I'm sorry. And there you can see that shine in the beard and the wings. We're also going to use the Twist and Slide, Slimline Twist and Slide die series. I am layering up these little circles because these are going to house, they're going to go over a brad that is part of the mechanism that makes these little fellas twist. Now we're going to be making 2 different cards in this video, both of them using the Twist and Slide dies, and this one we are going to just use them completely as they came in the die set. As you can see, the pivot point creates that twist. We're also using the Slimline stitched panels die set, and we're going to cut 2 of the same size because we need those to sandwich the mechanism in. So you create the mechanism by attaching the pieces together with brads, leaving that pivot point. Now, if I'd done this the smart way, I would have left those brads out. So I would be able to just poke through with my pokey tool, but I didn't. So I flipped them over and pushed so they left an impression on the cardstock where I need to put my holes for the pivot point that attaches to the backing pad. So now I'm going to undo those legs of those brads and push them through those holes, tighten that down so that you can see how the mechanism works. This is all going to be hidden underneath the top panel that we'll decorate here in just a little bit. And that shows you how the pivot works. When you attach those little housings over the top, it will spin and you'll see how we get that attached to our images. So I took that top panel, which I die cut with the quilted stitched frame. No, stitched. It's this, I'll have it linked below. It's another Slimline die cover plate. And this is a stencil set that coordinates with it. It has either stars or hearts or polka dots. that you can add at the intersecting points from the quilted cover plate. And I am adding a little bit of ink along the edges because I had some smudges, to be honest. That's really why. But I like it now. I wasn't so thrilled with it while I was creating it, and I kept trying to make it look better. I thought, well, I don't like this having to deal with the smudges, with the having to distress ink it. So let's put some shimmer on it. So I took some pearlized water, which is pretty much like, well, not quite as shiny as the liquid pixie dust, which I have to get my hands on. And I spritzed that. I also am taking a Slimline card base, and on the inside, before I attach things to the front of it, I am going to use the same stencil. I'm going to tape it down. Actually, first I'm going to make sure I have the fold, above the fold, masked off so I don't get any ink where I don't want it. And then I'm going to use more painter's tape here to secure that so it doesn't shift. You can use pixie dust spray also, but this isn't a super delicate stencil. So tape works perfect. You don't have to worry about the pieces of the stencil shifting around, just the whole stencil. And I put the little hearts all over the inside of the card. I haven't put a sentiment in the inside, but you'll easily be able to write over the top of those stenciled hearts. Now behind the mechanism, we want to pop that up. I did have to use 4 layers of coaster blank to make sure that it was high enough for the brads, because they do take up a lot of space in this particular case. Now the coaster blanks are about half the thickness of foam tape. So if you were doing foam tape, you would need to do double layers of foam tape. And I have one of the convenient parts of that twist and slide die set is one die cuts out 8 of those little circles plus the cap circles. So you should be able to get 2 of those little housings out of it. Now I'm just testing out where I'm placing these fellas, and yeah, I was trying to show you them pivoting as they just sit on top, but yeah, that didn't work. I also needed to reinforce the end where I put a stopper where that slides towards the end on the mechanisms. To do the sentiment, I used the Slimline stitched strips die again to create this banner for the sentiment, and I wanted a matching color, so I took my warm grays and I am coloring those Copics onto the paper and making them the same color as the second gnome's hat. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the reds to create a coordinating red heart to put on the handle for the mechanism so that you can tell that there's something there, so it doesn't blend in quite so much, so you know to pull on it so that you get your action from the gnomes here. Just going to quick tack that in place, and then I'm going to glue the sentiment down straight on the panel. Now I have glued those little gnomes, and look at them wiggle. I just love it. We're going to use some glass slippers confetti sequins from Trinity stamps, and I'm going to add those all over the front of this card. Just going to use my gem picker to pick those up, to drop them onto the little dots of glue. And now we're going to start a second card because one was not enough. This time we are going to change where on the pivot mechanism the second gnome is. So I'm taking that second bracket and I'm finding the spot where I want it, and I'm making little marks to show you where, or to show myself where to put new holes. And I'm just going to push through with my pokey tool, and those will be the new locations for the brads. And then we can make adjustments to the rest of it. Just going to load the brads in this one. I really had so much fun with those little cherub gnomes that I had to make a second card. The first one was landscape, and this one is portrait. Or one was wide and one was tall. We can think of it that way. And on this mechanism, there are lots of pieces that you can adapt to use this with any size card you wanted to make. This time I did leave the brads out of that pivot point, and this is a panel of 3.5 by 8.5 inch paper that I cut down to be the back of this mechanism, and I poked those holes through, sticking those brads in, and I found some super teeny tiny brads in my stash, and I love them. And I have searched everywhere for them, and I don't know if you can get them. Yeah, so once I use up what's in my stash, I may be out of luck. And this feels a little loose, so I am going to take my pokey tool and use the spatula end, because pushing on it doesn't seem to be doing the job. And I'm pushing down on the head of that brad, and that does squish it down and make that a nice snug fit. I had taken the same size 3.5 by 8.5 inch panel, and I had ink blended it with, I believe that's Tattered Rose and Campfire. What is that one called? Crackling Campfire. And I think that's Candied Apple. Those are the distress inks that I used. And I'm going to use these dies from the Twist and Slide die set. This one cuts out a little stitched notch for the handle, and then you find the holes. You find this placement for the holes by laying that panel on top of the mechanism and then pushing down on the brad heads so that you know exactly where they need to be. And then we are going to place our little housings over those pivot brads in preparation to put the little cherub gnomes on top of those. And look at those guys. I'm just showing you that they're only attached on that round housing that we put on there. And we'll just pop that onto the front of the panel. And we're going to pull out and the Slimline stitch strips dies again, and we'll cut out this sentiment. I did pop this one up with a little bit of coaster blank, and this one, since I used those much smaller brads, I was able to only use 2 layers of coaster blank, or if you're using foam tape, it would be only 1 layer, and then it works very smoothly. And we're using these, I think these are boiled sugar. I think that's the name of the half-back pearls that these are from Trinity Stamps. And I am again going to use a little bit of another heart. The dies, I believe one of these stamp sets coordinating dies has a heart in it, which would be perfect. And that is my projects. Thanks for stopping by today. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And if you are interested in any of the products that were used today, check out the description box below for a list of links to where you can find them in the future. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time. Happy crafting. Bye-bye.